बाला, अब इस समय कंसिडरिंग कि बहुत सारे इन्वेस्टर्स हैं जो शायद अभी भी सोच रहे होंगे और कि एसआईपी शुरू करें या फिर प्राइमरी मार्केट में इन्वेस्ट करें, सेकेंडरी में करें. नाउ लुकिंग एट द करंट वैल्यूएशंस एंड ऑब्वियसली वी अज्यूम कि अगर कोई म्यूचुअल फंड में इन्वेस्ट कर रहा है तो एटलीस्ट 3 से 5 साल का तो मिनिमम व्यू होगा. आइडियली उससे ज़्यादा होना चाहिए, बट एटलीस्ट दे आर कमिंग इन विद अ व्यू ऑफ 3 to 5 years. नाउ इफ़ यू टेक दैट काइंड ऑफ ट्रैजेक्टरी, देन डू यू थिंक ये टाइमिंग सही है फॉर देम टू एंटर, या फिर थोड़ा रुक कर इफ एट ऑल देयर इज अ करेक्शन इन द मार्केट उस समय करें? एंड सेकेंडली, जो ऑलरेडी बहुत अच्छे गेन्स पर बैठे हैं, बिकॉज लॉट ऑफ म्यूचुअल फंड इन्वेस्टर्स आर करंटली सिटिंग ऑन वेरी गुड गेन्स, स्पेशली इन स्मॉल कैप एंड मिड कैप फंड्स, उनको क्या करना चाहिए?
See, I think ये सवाल एक्चुअली हमेशा उठते जा रहे हैं, स्पेशली फॉर मेनी नंबर ऑफ ईयर्स, बट इसका कभी जवाब नहीं मिलते हैं, बिकॉज अल्टीमेटली इन्वेस्टमेंट इन इक्विटी म्यूचुअल फंड्स और इवन डेट म्यूचुअल फंड्स हैव टू बी फॉर लॉन्ग टर्म. व्हेन आई मीन लॉन्ग टर्म, इट हैज टू बी फॉर परपेचुइटी. एंड 3 साल में ऑफकोर्स पैसा बन गया और 5 साल में पैसा बन गया. एट द एंड ऑफ द डे, एनी इन्वेस्टमेंट दैट यू आर मेकिंग, एज लॉन्ग एज इट्स मीट्स योर पर्पस फॉर लॉन्गर टर्म पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू, we always suggest one has to stay invested. Second is any redemption that has to happen only because of certain need that arises for each investors who are putting money. अगर need नहीं है actually, आपको actually कुछ बिल्कुल निकालने की बिल्कुल जरूरत नहीं होगा. Even if you are sitting on huge amount of gain on your portfolio, that does not mean actually उसका पैसा आप gain को actually realize करके दूसरा कैसे जाने आपको ज़्यादा gain मिलेंगे. ऐसा कभी होता नहीं है. Especially in today's market, if you look at it, equity is something which will actually give better performance over a longer term over the interest rate instrument, and mutual fund fixed income schemes would give a better return than bank fixed deposit, given the fact that it also has got a tax advantage beyond 3-year investment. Therefore, one has to look at from these 3 angles. As you rightly asked a question about small and mid cap, there is something which of course is given an extra gain, but over a period of time, even if your gain gets reduced, ultimately you have to look at the return that you are generating on a total investment value for the total period. As long as it is substantially higher than what you would have otherwise got in any other investment opportunities, then one has to stay invested for long term.
जी मिस्टर बाला, अभी आपने सरकार के रिफॉर्म प्रोसेस और सरकार की पॉलिसीज की बात की, तो उसी से रिलेटेड एक और चीज़ मैं आपसे जानना चाहती हूँ. एक तो जीएसटी को ध्यान में रखते हुए क्या आपने एफएमसीजी या फिर लॉजिस्टिक्स में एक्सपोजर बढ़ाया है, या फिर सलाह क्या देंगे रिटेल इन्वेस्टर्स को कि इन पॉकेट्स को कंसिडर करना चाहिए या फिर नहीं? और दूसरा ये, सरकारी बैंकों को लेकर अब जिस तरह का माहौल है, जिस तरह का अब एनपी ऑर्डिनेंस आया और सरकार कामकाज कर रही है, क्या ये कह सकते हैं कि वर्स्ट इज ओवर फॉर पीएसयू बैंक्स?
Yeah, I think एक तो of course is the ordinance is something giving more power to the Reserve Bank of India, and also give more power actually to the banking industry as a whole to resolve actually all the NPA that is being carried forward by the entire banking industries, especially the public sector banks, which in our views, one is ordinance only enabling provision for giving more empowerment actually to the operating unit. Now I think one has to wait for more resolution to come. I think a lot of people have been expecting that post the announcement from Government of India in terms of ordinance getting passed, nothing much has come from Reserve Bank of India. The way we see is actually is going to be part and parcel of a process which has to get evolved. It has to get accepted by all market participants. It will actually increase the speed for resolution, and then more than anything else. The larger the participations and the higher the clarity, and then more the success will come in terms of NPA recoveries from banking systems. And that's something which we see actually is a way forward on the back of the NPA ordinance. I think people cannot expect overnight any result, but definitely I think it's going to create more legroom for a better improvement as we move forward. As far as the GST is concerned, as you rightly put it, I think clearly sectors like logistics, sectors like the retail-focused, fast-moving consumer good companies, are all of them actually is going to be the bigger beneficiary of GST getting rolled out. And second is the दूसरा thing तरफ से हम लोग देख रहे हैं actually the informal economy going into the formal economy. It has happened from two ways. One, of course, the demonetizations had clearly moved the informal sector to the formal sectors, which essentially means everybody is coming in the tax net. And second is the GST, I think, is going to make every segment of the marketplace to pay whatever the little tax they have to pay on the whole chain of tax incidences, which again essentially means the larger participation coming from the larger pool of people of however the small they are. I think they are going to contribute to the overall tax structures, which essentially means better for fiscal as well as better for consumers, as well as better for the earnings. Therefore, the money managers point of view, and these are the sectors will become one of the sectors which will be focused. From retail investors point of view, clearly they have to play this through the mutual fund investments rather than playing it on their own by investing in stocks directly.
Absolutely. No, that's a fair point, Bala. Now within, now I'm talking about index, and I mean, I don't need levels from you, but the kind of run up जो हमने देखा है already, frontline index की बात कर रहा हूँ मैं, चाहे निफ्टी हो या फिर सेंसेक्स. Now at this point, as a fund manager, if you were to rejig your portfolio, because पिछले 2-3 महीने में अगर आप देखेंगे ना, जो frontline index है उसमें काफ़ी churning भी हुई है और काफ़ी structural shift भी हुए हैं. So suddenly you had something like Reliance leading the rally, then you had IT which was constantly hammering the index, then you had private banks which were pulling up the index, and PSU banks जो कि थोड़ा drag कर रहे थे. Then suddenly we had outperformance from infra plays like L&T, BHEL, and then metal stocks. And then obviously, I mean, the evergreen stocks like Maruti Suzuki or an Eicher Motors. अब है क्या कि जो एक investor है ना, वो देखता है index को है. Invest भले ही कहीं बाहर करता हो mid cap, small cap में, but for him the benchmark is index. If you were to take a view on the index, what kind of rejig you would do in your exposure at this point as a fund manager, sectorally I'm saying?
Yeah, I think clearly if you look at from a investment point of view, जो basis पे I think the portfolios have been built. Clearly, as you rightly put, various sectors that are contributing to the Sensex growth. There are a few sectors which are not actually contributing to the Sensex growth, despite they being large in size, such as in IT as well as in pharma. Whereas most of the other sectors have been the greater contributor actually for the index movement. And also these are the companies of all these sectors which I just mentioned about, what you also mentioned about, apart from these two sectors which I mentioned, which is about IT and pharma, all other sectors are relatively doing much better. Second is, as I mentioned earlier, the last 2 years of spending in building the infrastructure as a sectors through the government spending in the last 2-3 years, clearly somewhere down the line has to lead to an increase in activities around capital goods sectors. And we'll probably see the capital goods sectors soon reviving due to the various spending that is coming from both the central government as well as the state government, as well as some bit of investment that could come from overseas investors in participating in the domestic infrastructure assets. All of them should actually lead to a revival in the capital goods sector as well sooner than later. Today, we are so fortunate that the power as a sectors, we are not talking about deficit. Today, we are talking about surplus power. So, therefore, carrying that surplus power actually for the end consumer, I think is going to be something very extremely crucial. Therefore, from a market point of view, Sensex point of view, the sectors that are part of the Sensex, I think as long as there is an expectation of earnings growth coming from these companies, relatively better than the broad market, I think those sectors will continue to actually deliver better performance. Therefore, from money managers point of view, the challenge always remains not just only stock picking opportunity that we have to find out. We need to also look at sectors that could potentially outperform the market to provide the necessary outperformance on the portfolio for the investors at large.
One last question to you, Bala. The kind of inflows that we have seen through mutual funds, domestic investor का जिस तरह से आया है, folios में जिस तरह का इजाफा देखने को मिला है. Now, I mean, obviously this is now going to be a new normal for Indian market where you have a very strong domestic inflow supporting the markets. Now from here, if we were to look at the incremental inflows, अगले 2-3 साल के लिए या maybe 5 साल के लिए, looking at the way investor behavior is changing, देश के ग्रामीण इलाकों में जिस तरह से म्यूचुअल फंड का पॉपुलैरिटी बढ़ रहा है, वहाँ से जिस तरह से फ्लोज आ रहे हैं, what kind of growth you are looking at in the total overall AUM which is deployed in the market?
See, as of now, in the mutual fund industry size about 20 lakh crore, roughly 20 lakh crore, out of which close to about 6.9 lakh crore is in equity, or maybe 6.8 lakh crore is in equity. And equity has been growing close to about 35 to 36% in the last few years. Especially last year, the industry grew by about 38%, and some fund houses grew by about 40-42%. And that, I think, growth momentum will continue even going forward. Second, as I mentioned, structurally, the lot of flows have started coming through SIPs today. महीने के जो inflows जो आ रहे हैं actually equity पे, almost about 50-55% of the flows is coming only from SIP as a contribution. SIP actually is now became the bigger pie of contributor to the MF industry's growth. Oh, that is growing almost close to about 27 to 28% growth that we are seeing on SIPs. Even going forward, the way the industry mutual fund under the AMFI umbrella, have come out with the advertisement called Mutual Fund Sahi Hai campaign, only to create awareness among investing publics across the country, and that is now being viewed in multiple languages, reaching out to smaller market. Yes, some milky thinking, I think we'll probably see a larger participation coming from this market even going forward. Therefore, the rate of growth, I think, has to continue to remain strong even going forward. Therefore, one of the estimates that we have by, I think, March 2017, rather March 2018, and the industry expecting close to about 23 lakh crores of overall AUM, and the equity assets, I think, will continue to grow, and given the fact that more awareness getting created, also given the fact that alternate investment opportunities, whether to invest in gold or invest in real estate, are now, I think, getting the least priority from the investor's point of view. Therefore, the more money, I think, will move into the financial asset class, and that is why I think mutual fund industry, I think, will play a very big role in the times to come.
All right. चलिए बाला, दैट एटलीस्ट इससे एक चीज़ तो पता चल जाती है आपकी बातों से कि इंडियन इकोनॉमी, म्यूचुअल फंड इन्वेस्टर्स और म्यूचुअल फंड इंडस्ट्री सभी के अच्छे दिन आने वाले हैं. बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया हमारे साथ इस बातचीत में शामिल होने के लिए. थैंक यू सो मच फॉर जॉइनिंग अस एंड होप टू स्पीक टू यू सून वंस अगेन.